In this episode of the Business of E-commerce, I talk with Chris Jones about the 3 steps to grow your Instagram followers. This is the Business of E-commerce, episode 90. Today's episode is sponsored by Drip. Drip is the world's first e-commerce CRM and a tool that I personally use for email marketing and automation. Now, if you're running an e-commerce store, you need to give Drip a try, and here's why. Drip offers one-click integrations for both Shopify and Magento. There's robust segmentation, personalization, and revenue dashboards to give you an overview of how your automation emails are performing. One of my favorite features of Drip is the Visual Workflow Builder. It gives you a super easy way to build out your automation rules visually and see the entire process. It lets you get started quickly, but also build very complex automation rules. It's powerful, but also easy to learn, unlike a lot of email tools that offer the same type of automation. To get a demo of Drip today, you can go head over to drip.com/BOE. That's drip.com/BOE. Now, onto the show. Welcome to the Business of E-commerce, the show that helps e-commerce retailers start, launch, and grow their e-commerce business. I'm your host, Charles Plesky, and I'm here today with Chris Jones. Chris coaches e-commerce retailers on how to create a world-class store and build a sophisticated marketing operation without spending a ton of money. I asked Chris on the show today to chat about how you can grow your Instagram followers. So hey, Chris, how you doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you, man?
Doing good. I love the topic, kind of growing Instagram. I feel like that's one of the channels that's just performing like crazy right now. So yeah, I'd love to dig into it. So
for sure.
You were saying before the call, you coach people, and you kind of have this 3-step process on how to grow your Instagram followers, right?
Yeah, I do. It's something that we do in an accelerator style course, and it's super accountable and specific. There's a lot of crap out there where people teach, engage with people, post good pictures, which, duh, but it doesn't really lead to anything specific that a normal person or someone who's listening to this podcast could do to grow their Instagram. And so I've kind of dialed it all in and have broken it down into a couple of steps that I use when I'm growing my own accounts and when I'm helping students or even when I'm consulting for a business that's hired me.
Okay, cool. So so let's say you have an Instagram account now with some followers. Does it apply, or is this like starting from scratch, or does it work in both?
So it could work. So I start them from scratch all the time, and I've grown from scratch to 10,000 followers in a couple of months. And then I've also helped students who, after years or probably 2 years of growing, maybe they were at like 12,000, but they really had hit a ceiling. And over the next 9 months, we grew them to 150,000. So it works either or.
Okay, cool. Because the one thing, before we get into it, the one thing I love about Instagram, and it's the one medium with marketing that you can just post 100 times a day and people like it. Like if you,
it's true.
Like if I sent, if you email the email list 100 times a day, 100 people would unsubscribe on like day one. But if you Instagram, you could literally post 100 times a day and nobody cares. It's the oddest thing. Like people will actually engage with you more. It's like the one medium that allows you to do that, which is really unique. Even Facebook, if you posted 20 times a day, everyone would unfollow you. But Instagram, they actually somehow it increases followers. It's bizarre. So anyway, that's my
absolutely.
That's my odd love of Instagram.
No, I love it because, riffing on what you just said, I love it because it's the one social media platform where there's like a direct result of the effort that you put into it. So I sucked at sports when I was a kid. When I grew up, I got into endurance sports, and one of the things I loved about running marathons or doing triathlons is that your results in that sport were directly proportional to the amount of effort that you put into it. So if you train for 40 hours a week, you got really fast. Whereas the same isn't true of, say, golf or tennis, right? There's a lot of technique involved, but Instagram is kind of like the endurance sport of social media platforms. You put in effort, you're going to get a direct result.
I like it.
And usually pretty quickly.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. So get started on the steps. Where would you step one, what do you do?
So step one, most people want to skip past. Step one is getting your content plan in place. So because Instagram is designed to be an on-the-go social media platform where for years it was impossible to post from anything except for your phone. Now they've kind of opened that up a little bit. But because it's on the go, most people thought that they had to generate new content all the time, every single day. And there is a place for generating content. But if you're going to grow it and you're going to grow it effectively and systematically, then your content has to be systematic as well. So the first thing that I always explain to people is I basically break it down. You want five content categories, so 5 different styles of posts, and they could be anything from memes. In fact, on my website, I publish a list of them, but memes, inspiration, customer testimonials. So I'm specifically dealing with like e-commerce brands, testimonials, lifestyle pics, whatever the case is. So you want to choose your content categories, and you want to post. I say no less than once a day. Like you said, you really want to post as much as possible. You could post 1 to 3 times a day. A lot more than that, and it's going to become time consuming. And here's what I see. Most people spend 80% of their time on Instagram trying to come up with good content or posting good content, and they spend like 20% of their time on growing their Instagram. And I think it should be the other way around. So I think you should spend 20% of your time on getting your content in place, and you spend 80% of your time going out and engaging with people and growing. And so in order to do that, you have to get a specific plan in place where you're posting in specific content, what I call buckets. So you want to, okay, here's my inspiration bucket, and I'm going to fill this up throughout the month. And then at the beginning of each month, I'm going to use an app like Later to book it all out in advance. And I'm not going to look at my stats. I'm not going to look at my content. I'm not going to constantly check my own page 100 times a day. I'm going to spend the time that I'm investing in Instagram, I'm going to spend it on growing the Instagram. Does it make sense?
I like this. What is, when you said those there's 5 categories, what are those?
So categories are different. So I actually was teaching this lesson this morning on an accelerator call, and so I was dealing with a student who's selling a health product. I can't get more specific than that, but selling a health product. And so we basically started by going back through her Instagram and seeing what posts had performed well in the past, and boiled that down into a category. So one post that it was a product that would help your hair. And so one type of post that performed well every single time that she did it was posting natural pictures, like raw, super natural pictures of girls' hair. And so that was one content category. Okay. And that's kind of like a behind the scenes. That's what I would call that content bucket. Another type of post that performed well every single time was her packaging is really good for her product. And so anytime she did a post that put her packaging on display, great engagement. So we went and we decided that was going to be one of her buckets. And we went through 1 through 5 and picked 5 content categories or buckets that she could fill up with, 6 to 12 posts every single month. And now her assignment is once a month, she's got to go into Later and book all of her content in advance, so she doesn't have to think about it again. And now all month, she's free to focus on like the growth tactics that we use.
Okay, so these buckets are very specific to your business, because if you're, helpful.
Absolutely. So like I said, so I do publish a list on my website. So if you were to check out unoboy.com, my blog, I post some of the different content categories I've used for my own brands in the past. But they would be things like memes. Memes are super shareable, so you're going to increase engagement that way. They would be things like inspiration, so flat lays, or like let's say you sold apparel, you could do like outfit inspiration. Or if you sold a travel related product, like one of my students does right now, then you could post like travel inspiration type. So that would be like inspo. And there's a whole list of them. But you could get them on Unoboy, and you just want to choose 5 that fit your business and get super specific about it and tactical, and then fill those buckets up with content. I generally set aside one Saturday at the beginning of the month, schedule out all the content, and some of it can be user generated, some of it can be generated by you yourself, and then a lot of it can be curated. So Instagram is the one social media platform where people don't care if you steal their content. Now I always give credit, so you could just tag them with photo credit at the bottom of the caption, but it's the one social media platform where people love when you steal their content. So I always use the content that's already performing well on Instagram.
Got it. Okay. So very specific business. I like that, because if you're, there's certain products that you can give the hair photo or you can give the packaging photo. But if you're selling, I don't know, some like accounting product, that sort of thing, it might not look so cool. So you may need to think some different like inspiration or that sort of thing. So it's really very product.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and then with the content calendar, that helps. I think that's where most people skip, like you said, that step, and that's where most people then, like, just like a month into it, trip and fall, right? Where they're trying to just come up every day, and then something happens, like life gets in the way, or business gets in the way, and they just don't post for that week, and then they skip the next week, and then it just falls off, and it's over. So having that process in place,
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah, and the content is the real reason why anybody follows you on Instagram in the first place. And when we talk about growth hacking and like growth techniques, it's the thing that we always skip over, because not everyone can have the greatest content on earth, right? But if I were to send you 100,000 new pairs of eyeballs tomorrow to your Instagram page, right? But your content sucked, you wouldn't capture any of them as followers. So the reason why that's step number one of the 3 steps that I use to grow an Instagram account is that before we start, growing your page views, growing your traffic, you have to have decent content, or no one's gonna give a crap. No one's gonna follow you anyway.
Got it. Would you have kind of I'm trying to think how to word it. Before you actually try to grow the followers, some period of just producing content with the assumption not many people are gonna see this. Like, would you would you just say, let's just dedicate like 2 months of we're just gonna crank out posts and not really even promote it at first? Or what would you do there?
So any day that you're not growing your Instagram and trying to get new followers is a day you can never get back. So I always recommend that you start both at the same time. Get your content going, and as soon as you have one post, you can start using some of the growth techniques that we'll talk about in a minute. Just because you can never get that time back. So start growing right away. Understand that obviously your following rate or the opt-in rate, so to speak, is going to be slower at first because people are going to get to your page and be like, well, this person doesn't produce any content, or they're brand new, or you don't have any of that social proof, right? So the rate at which people follow you will be slower at first, but it'll pick up steam as you fill out your content. But even if you gain one follower in your first couple of weeks, it was worth it to go ahead and start engaging with people using some of the other growth techniques. So I say start both right away.
Okay, so get the content in place. You mentioned later that I'm assuming does Instagram like calendar, future posting sort of thing. So get all that in place.
Yeah. So Later actually, in the last year, has established an official partnership with Instagram, where not only is it a calendar, but they will actually post for you. So you can literally book everything in advance and never touch your own Instagram page. It'll post for you. It'll add the hashtags. It'll do everything that you want automatically, and you can schedule in advance from your computer.
Yeah, we use HubSpot here for that. Same deal.
Okay,
it
cool.
literally has a calendar you look at, and you can see which ones Instagram is kind of, what days of the week an Instagram post is going out. And like you said, you can do it from the computer. And the nice part is you can have multiple users. So it's not like you have to hand someone your phone and be like, oh, log in with your phone.
Right.
You can just log in HubSpot and just, queue them all up for the month, which is fantastic. So highly recommend using something like that. Okay. So then step 2, after you have your content in place, what's next?
So once you have your content in place, you want to start phase 1 of your growth, and that's just old school engagement. So there's 2 steps to this. I would start by just going out and engaging with people who are likely to be interested in what you're doing. So back to the health product, the hair product that I just mentioned with a student earlier. I would go out and find people who follow my competitors, or people who post in a specific hashtag that relates to hair health. So people that I know are my target clientele, and I would just go engage with them. So there's 3 ways to engage with somebody on Instagram and get them to see one of those little addictive little red notifications when you log in and you got a new like, or you got a new follower, or you got a new comment, right? So you can like, follow, or comment on somebody's account. And that's how you basically tap them on the shoulder, get them to turn around and look at you, and then potentially win them as a follower, right? So the easiest way is just go old school and spend a couple of hours a day just engaging with different users who post on certain hashtags, or like I said, followers of your direct competitors, or even, it doesn't have to be a direct competitor. It could just be somebody who's in a shoulder business who sells to your exact same clientele, right? And so you could just literally go down the list, check out their most recent post, hit like, leave a nice comment, and maybe even follow them. Okay. And you can always unfollow them later. But the point is, get their attention so they come to your page, see what you're up to, and decide whether they want to follow you back or not. Okay.
Yeah. And that's a good one, because if you're on the other end, right? Let's say you have, there's folks out there that have 100,000 followers. They're probably not getting so excited when that little red light is lit up. But if you find someone that has, 100 followers, every time someone follows them, they look at you. Like, you basically, it's like 100% guarantee that you like them, they're going to check out your page. So at minimum, if they don't follow you back, they're at least going to look at your page. Like, and every one of us that, I don't have a ton of Instagram followers personally. And I just know when someone does like something, I don't even know who that person is. I check them out just to see, like, who are you and why do you do this? So yeah, totally agree with that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So then second part of that, after you kind of start engaging with some folks.
So exactly. So once you start engaging with people, the second phase of engagement would be to automate it. So you can do a lot more of it while you focus on running your business. So there's a couple of ways you can automate. You could get a virtual assistant. Of course, the struggle with that is you have to trust somebody with your account. It can be expensive especially if you're stateside, versus outsourcing to another country, and get whatever that behavior was that's winning you the most amount of followers. So whether it's leaving a comment or liking or following people, you get somebody to do that for you, 8 hours a day. And then the other option would be to use some type of software. That comes with a caveat though. If you're on Instagram at all, you know that there's tons of people doing tons of sketchy stuff with what are known as bots. And I really dislike that. So if you use any type of automatic or automated software, I always recommend that you be responsible with it. So I only ever automate activity that I do manually and that I know gets a great response from people. Right. So I only want to be producing value on Instagram. I don't just want to be spamming people to death. And so if you decide to use some kind of automation software, there's lots out there like Tailwind or I think there's one called Kanban or something like that. But anyway, you can look it up and you can find something that will work for you, and you can schedule out and you can get it to abide by certain rules the same way that you would if you were on Instagram doing the activity yourself. But what it allows you to do is it frees you up, and it does it for 8 hours a day when, I don't have the attention span to do it for 8 hours a day, but it does it for me. But like I said, use responsibly. Don't be a spammer. You get yourself kicked off at Instagram, or you'll just piss a lot of people off, even if your account is safe. Okay. So use it responsibly, but it's a way that you can do what, I can handle doing 1 to 2 hours a day. It'll do it for an additional 8 to 10 hours a day for me, and allows me to grow my following a lot faster.
Yeah. I think that's a good public service announcement. I feel like a lot of people, they hear that and they instantly just try to, they go from automate to like spam very quickly. And it's an important difference, right? Where you're not just going out there and like blasting the world, because we all get those too, where it's like I don't know, scantily clad female and they're kind of just liking random pages, and you're like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, but it's ridiculous. But okay, yeah, versus actually people that are, somewhat related to your industry, and then that's different. Where okay, if I'm in, hunting and fishing, and this person has a page about hunting and fishing, it kind of makes sense and it kind of goes together versus just like the blasting, like, random people, that sort of thing. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when it comes to commenting, instead of saying, nice pic or, great job or some kind of random spam, I actually teach, again, you can find this. There's a guide on my blog that actually teaches how to write a great comment that is 100% appropriate 100% of the time. Because, that's the other thing is you end up liking a picture from somebody's funeral and you're like, great job. Love this photo. Or, what an awesome time. And it's somebody's funeral, right? Yep. So you look like an a-hole. So I teach this on my blog a little bit more in depth because it can be tricky, but there's a way to engage with people so that they are 100% happy to hear from you every time. So first, get targeted, make sure that you're targeting the right type of people based on who they follow or what type of hashtags they post in. But then, be a real person, and don't just be a bot spammer.
So how would you, if you want to automate that though, how would you give that to a VA or whoever it is that's doing 8 hours a day, and how would you instruct them, not to comment on that funeral pic?
Yeah, so one really, and this sounds silly, but one really easy trick is make sure that whatever comment you're leaving, do not ever reference the specific picture, because it's more about an effective automation strategy is more about finding the right type of people. They don't care which picture you comment on, right? So I always set a rule where I just comment on the most recent picture, whatever it is, whether it's a funeral or a birth or or whatever it is, and then I don't ever reference the specific picture. I just let them know how I found them, which is super important. So I found them through a hashtag, or I found them because we both follow X, right? So a specific account. And so I do different things. So I might ask them a simple question like, "Hey, have you ever heard of, whatever?" Or I always one of my most effective posts ever or comments ever for generating sales was with my athletic apparel brand. I would leave a comment that said, "Hey, found you through the say hashtag back squat hashtag." So like, a workout thing or an athletic thing. And then it would say, just a hunch, but you might dig our flagship universe pants. So it was a pair of pants that we sold for the gym, that people just really loved. And 98% of the time they would reply to the comment and say, "Hey, I just checked out your Instagram and you're right. I totally love them." Sometimes they would reply and say, "Hey, I just actually just placed an order." And so that was a great comment at just getting a conversation started. And of course, 2% of the time they would say, "Actually, I just checked it out, and no, I actually hate them," and that was fine too,
Well, I mean,
right?
the fact you're getting, if you get any engagement, it's better than silence, right? That's the worst thing is getting nothing. So either like or
Yeah,
hate,
absolutely.
but yeah, just getting engagement is kind of the big thing there. I think just linking up that, I like what you said about not coming in on the picture because that makes it a lot easier. Like if they're posting on, back squat or wherever that is, you just know there's certain things about that. And most likely it's not the funeral picture, it's something athletic related. So it very easily kind of makes sense. But it doesn't need to be. So yeah, I like that's a good tip right there. People should definitely note that one. All right, so then step 3. So let's say you're out there every day, you have someone cranking away 8 hours, commenting, liking. Um, what do you do from there? And you start actually getting
Yeah,
people to come to your
so
page.
so you can gain a if you're doing things correctly, following the tips that we just talked about, you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 new followers per month just from an awesome engagement strategy where you're just going out, tapping people on the shoulder, giving them the little red, blinking icon or whatever, the little notification icon, and getting them to come back to your page. And of course, if you're posting great content, some of them are going to follow you, right? So you can gain around 1 to 2,000 new followers per month when that strategy is hitting on all cylinders, right? But you're going to hit a ceiling. Like you can't gain more than that because you can only engage with so many people per day, right? So there's certain limits on Instagram. Even if you were to do it manually and to not use any kind of software, you can't go out and like 100 pictures in 5 minutes, right? You could physically do it, but Instagram will stop you. You'd get this little message. It's like, "Hey, stop liking so many pictures," right? So you're going to hit a ceiling. And so if you want to grow faster than that, so when I talked about the student that grew from around 12,000 followers when they started working with me, 250,000 in 9 months. If you did the math in your head, you know that you can't get 150,000 followers in 9 months while only growing at 1,000 followers per month. So how do you unlock that next level of growth? And it's basically just partnerships. So a lot of people would call this influencer marketing. But I like to think of it more in terms of partnership. So when it's social media, we always call it an influencer. But influencer is just a new buzzword that's been invented in the last 3 to 5 years. But really, it's just a fancy name for a partnership. So I like to think of partnerships in terms of becoming the opening act for somebody else. So you take somebody else that already has the attention of the audience that you want, and you get them to promote you. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. So you could do it through trade. So you could say, "Hey, if it's somebody who's in the same neighborhood size as you, you can say, 'Hey, look, I'll do a great shout out for you if you do a great shout out for me.'" People underestimate how effective that can be, right? So it's a lot of work, but if you're willing to do that and trade shout outs with people, 3 times a week for 6 months straight, I guarantee you will gain, an additional 10 to 15,000 followers that you weren't going to gain before. I guarantee, I don't even care what size you're starting at. If you would just go out and find people who are in the same category as you or in the same industry, who are around your same size, and write a great pitch, either email or direct message, and say, "Hey, I would love to exchange shout outs so we can both grow followers," you'd be amazed at how many you could. Now, yeah, you're only getting 1 to 200 followers each time it happens, but as you move up in the world, the people that you can trade with, are also at a higher level, right? So maybe in the beginning you're only trading with people who have 500 followers, right? But once you start moving up in the world, you start trading with people who have 10,000 followers, 20, 30, 50. You can actually gain a ton of new followers every time you trade, right? So that's a free strategy, is just become the opening act for somebody who already has the attention of the audience you want. And then if you're an e-commerce brand, you can actually start working on collaborations with influencers. So anybody that has 10,000 followers or more, who could review your product online and do a great promotion for you, would generally be worth the cost of whatever it was to send them that product, right? So you can just basically set up partnerships with or collaborations with influencers with 10K followers or more, and you can do this, 20 times a month, 50 times a month, however many pitch emails you can write out or to send out every month. You can hook up with these people, and this is going to really unlock the growth. So when you're doing engagement, you're only engaging with maybe 5,000 people per month that could potentially follow you, and you're only getting 1,000 of them to actually hit the follow button. When you're getting other people to promote you to their audiences, and their audiences are 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, okay, there's no limit to how many people or how many eyeballs you can get on your Instagram page every month.
So are you talking about, is it the influencer technique, sending products to them and having them create a link back to your site or a link back to your page? Or how would you actually, like, what would they be promoting specifically, your Instagram or your products?
So I normally want them to promote my product. And the reason why is I want the promotion to pay for itself. So even if your product only costs like $20 is your dead cost in it, and then you pay $5 ship, even if it only costs you $25, you're going to end up going in a massive hole just to look cool on Instagram. And I don't think, like, if you're not getting a positive ROI, then I don't think that you should be doing it, no matter how many followers you got. So I always want the promotion to at least pay for itself with sales. And so I get them to promote a product, but generally I will also get them to ask their followers to come and follow me at the same time. So you want to get really specific. A lot of people are thinking, oh, okay, influencer marketing. Okay, Einstein, like, you're not the first person who said that. It really is about getting systematic about it. So I share and if you want, we could actually post a link to it in the show notes, but I share a calculator to figure out exactly how many influencer partners you need in order to hit whatever your following goal is. And then it's about getting systematic with when they post, and it's also about being consistent. So a lot of people could get one person to promote you and you got 200 new followers. Big deal, right? So you're 200 followers richer, but it's not going to really unlock the kind of growth that you want until you get consistent with it. What if you were to do one of those every single day, right? So that's 200 new followers a day. That's 6,000 a month. 6,000 a month. And that's only working with smaller influencers. Once you move up into the big leagues, you could do 60,000 a month. Okay. So it's about being consistent and getting a specific result from people. So here's the other thing. People send out product all the time to Instagram influencers. They get really frustrated because the person either never posts, or when they do, they just tag you, but they don't really say anything good about the product. They just say, thanks so much for the free product or whatever. And that sucks. It's not going to get you any more followers. It's not going to get you any more sales. Okay. So when I get somebody who wants to review the product or wants to get something for free, I always send them what I call my kickoff document. That's another thing that we could share in the show notes if you wanted to. But it's a kickoff document where I tell them what's expected of them as an influencer partner. So I want a specific post, and I'll actually write out some example captions that they could use and just copy and paste. And people love when you do the work for them, by the way. It virtually guarantees that not only are they going to post because it's no work, you did all the hard work for them, but also they're going to give you the kind of recommendation that you want because you gave them a template. And so instead of starting from a blank canvas, they had the template to post and promote you. So generally, instead of getting the, oh, thanks so much, Chris Jones for the free product, go and follow him. Instead, I could get a specific post that I want. So, first of all, hey, I just discovered this new product that helped me with my X problem. I never thought it could work. I was super skeptical when I got the box, but I've been using it for a week now, and I'm absolutely hooked. I don't even know how I live without it. If you want to try it out, here's a promo code that will get you 10% off. It expires tomorrow night, and definitely go follow XYZ account because they're always posting good content that I find valuable to help solve X problem. Right. So that's the kind of post that's going to not only get you sales, but will also get you, new followers as well. And it virtually guarantee it, even if you're dealing with an influencer as a smaller account. Is all this making sense? I know it's a lot. I was like drinking from a fire hose, but does any of this make sense? Is it helpful?
Yeah, this is great. And I totally agree with almost just, you can do it in a very tactful way, writing the post for them basically. And I appreciate when people ask for reviews, for example. It's always like, maybe I'd do that. But for me to sit down and type up even 500 words, I have to kind of, grammar check it and kind of go through a few different revisions. Where, like you said, if you just give that to them, all of a sudden, if you're running late, you might literally just copy and paste it. And worst case, you might even just edit it, but at least you kind of leave in that, the link at the end, your hashtag, whatever it is, you leave in those like main pieces, and maybe you just kind of tweak it. Even like sponsors for the show, that sort of thing. Usually they send over, here's what we're thinking. And then you kind of go through and make it your own words, but at least you have, there's a starting place at least, versus just saying, do what you want. Because that has,
Yeah, a lot of people assume that influencers want to have control because they're creative type of people. First of all, Instagram influencers typically aren't writers. Like, generally speaking, they're not. And you would be shocked at how hard it is for someone who's not a writer to write a 500 word or even a 250 word caption that's actually effective at getting the result that you want.
I wouldn't be shocked because I'm a podcaster, not a writer. So there you go. I would not be shocked at that. I know exactly what that's like.
There you go.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will be staring at the blank canvas. They're like, I don't even know what to say for this brand.
Yeah.
And they actually feel super anxious about it. And so when you give them, hey, here's 3 different templates that you can choose from that we would be super happy with it if you kind of followed the template, and feel free to tweak it to your heart's content, then it's actually a relief for influencers versus they think that you're taking away control. And having that kickoff document that lets them know exactly what's expected of them and what you can expect from us is super helpful. And it helps systematize what before is usually like most people, the way that they do influencers is they share a couple of DMs, they fire off a free product that costs them like say $25 shipped, and then they never even check back to see if the person posted or whatever, and so it ends up being a huge money sink, negative ROI. Whereas if they just told the person what they expected and had them on a schedule and followed up with them effectively, you'd have gotten the post, it would have paid for itself, and it would have generated you a ton of new followers. So you have to get systematic about this approach or it won't work for you. But I do have some resources that make it a little easier.
Yeah, I think getting that process and having that standard procedure where we're going to hit this many per day and this is just what we do. And then maybe at first you're running through the process, and then at some point you hire that, have that VA help you with this as well. And once you have that process in place, it's very easy to just grow from there, right? And that's kind of the basics of it.
Right, absolutely.
When you said 10,000, so that's an important number in Instagram, right? What is that importance of that 10,000? Because I think not everyone knows that.
Well, it's when you get the so up until 10,000, so up until 9,999 followers on Instagram, it shows you the exact number of followers you have down to the single follower. So 9,999. After you roll over to 10,000, you get the much desired K behind your number. So it says 10K rather than 10,000 with the zeros. And it's just like a simple same way as like entrepreneurs like you and me. Our first milestone is always 6 figures, right? Isn't that like our first goal in business is just get to a 6-figure income, and then after that a 7-figure income, right? So it holds this allure for anybody who's growing on Instagram because it's social proof. It means you've arrived. It means that you're doing something smart. It means that you've got something valuable on your hands. And really, is there a difference between an Instagram that has 9,999 followers and 10K? Not really. But when people see it, that's going to allow you to grow a lot faster because they assume, everyone else is doing it. I might as well follow them too.
Well, there's also that little magical unlock. And I think does it happen at 10,000 where?
Yeah, so if you're a business account, it does. You're talking about the swipe up?
The swipe up or the URL directly, because you can't put a URL in the
True.
If you have 5 followers and you put a URL in the comments, it just looks like text. But at some point, it goes magically to an actual URL.
Right.
Is that
okay?
So at 10,000? How does that work?
So if you're a business guy, and I don't think that you can, and unless they've changed something recently, I don't think that you can put a URL that will work in the text, in the caption. But what you can do is you can link directly to a product in your photo. So you can tag a product that's in the photo, and it will, if they click on it, it will open your product page directly where they can check out. Right. So it removes some of the friction and makes it easier to shop. And then if you want to send somebody to a specific URL, you can also do a swipe up in your stories. And that's only if you're converted to a business account, which there's no reason not to convert to a business account. So as soon as Instagram invites you to do that, go ahead and make the switch, and it unlocks some insights and some analytics that you didn't have before. But like like you said, more importantly, you could do the swipe up or the link directly to products.
So is that just based on a business account, or do you need a certain number of followers, or do you need to be invited? Like, when does that magic all happen? Because
So
it's a game changer.
back in the day, it used to be like they would send you a notification that says, "Hey, please convert to a business," and it just was like, I'm sure it was based on some specific parameters, but you had no control over it. Nowadays, I'm pretty sure that you can just set up a business. Like if you were to log into your personal Charles Instagram account, I think you could convert it to a business account if you wanted to. Like I don't think that there's any threshold, so you could just go to the settings and. I'm probably getting this wrong. People are probably listening to this and thinking that's not how you do it, you idiot. But if you go to the settings in Instagram, there should be a way that you can convert over to a business account.
If it's not the way, leave us a comment and let us know the way. But yeah, there
Yeah,
definitely is
sure.
something magical that happens. I don't know if it's a business account or a certain number, but like that swipe up and because
Okay, cool. So I just figured it out.
Oh.
Do you want me to tell everybody the secret?
Let's do it.
Okay, so if you go to your own Instagram page and you're logged into it, then there's a big bar across the top that says edit profile. You don't see this on other people's, just your own page. So you hit edit profiles, and then halfway down the page, there's a link that says get more tools. And that says welcome to Instagram business tools. And it'll allow you to convert over to a business account and get all access to all the goodies that we were just talking about.
So there's the magic in 2019. Yeah, it's funny these things change so quickly that we need to caveat in 2019, 2019, right? Because next year it'll be some different rule, and last year was a different rule, but now it's,
yeah, you better say June 2019.
Yeah, we'll add the month as well as of this recording. So all right, cool. So that's how you do that, and because without that, right, they can't really. If they don't have that, they can't really link to your product or do much of anything for you. All they can do is kind of just tag your profile until they can really link out to your products themselves.
Yeah, so prior to that, you just have a link in your bio. So you get one URL that you can send people to in your bio. And you'd be surprised at how effective it can be to say, hey, link is in the bio, go click it. It can drive a ton of traffic, but obviously it's a lot easier when you can just say swipe up or click directly on a product.
Yeah,
for sure.
I've even talked to retailers who they use that bio link when they're small and they sub out different products. So whatever they want to sell that month, it's like a vanity link. And depending on what they want to push traffic to, they flip different products behind it. And so it doesn't go to their homepage. It goes very specific. And whatever promotion of that day, that's where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So content plan, engagement, and then basically working with others to try to grow your followers. Kind of those three in that order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I think that, that's super helpful. And I like that it feels very, like you're saying, a system, right? Where if you just come in and just work the system, it just takes work, but you will get there. Like it will grow. It's almost guaranteed, basically. So it isn't like
it's 100% guaranteed. Yeah.
So like results may vary, but you will have results, right? It's kind of like going to the gym. We don't know when you'll get in good shape, but if you go and you run every day and lift weights, you'll get in better shape every day. Like it will get better. And this is kind of the same plan that if you just go and just execute every day, or every week, whatever it is, you will get better, which I love. So it's something that you can just execute on and you will see results, which is awesome.
Right.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap it. If you could send over those links, I definitely want to link to all those in the show notes. I think people will find those super helpful.
Yeah.
So I'll add all those below. And yeah, if people want to follow you, find more, figure out what you're working on, what can they do so?
I always hate this part of the podcast interview because, it's hilarious. I'm the Instagram guy. I'm going to tell you how many followers I have on Instagram.
I did ask before the show. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
I have 198 personal followers on Instagram, and the last time that I posted was in August of 2017. So I'm not very active on social media. If you want to read some stuff that I put out, it's at unoboy.com. If you want to email me and ask me a question, I'm totally game for it. It's chrisjones@gmail.com. I have the OG Gmail address. So it's just chrisjones@gmail.com, and I'm always up for answering questions, but I'm not very active on social media unless I'm making money from some kind of brand that I'm promoting.
I like it. All right. Awesome, Chris. Definitely a link to that in the show notes. It was great chatting with you.
All right. See you, Charles.